capabilities, but let me check really quick. You should be able to share your screen.
There it is. Okay, let's see.
So if you, yep, we can see your screen, Manny.
Okay, perfect. So can you all hear me okay? I'm gonna try to yell so you can hear me over the kids. You can hear
We
me
can't
perfect.
hear the kids. We can't hear them at all.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good. Well, thank you again, Karen, for that lovely introduction. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Again, as Karen mentioned, my name is Manny Lucero. I am with Lucero Consulting Group. We are based out of Phoenix, Arizona, but we provide services nationally. So we do everything you can think of for business and nonprofits, other than legal, because we're not lawyers. But if you think about accounting, bookkeeping, marketing, event planning, starting a business or nonprofit, copywriting, just about everything other than legal, like I said. So if you have any questions, I've either talked about it or I know somebody that talks about it, and I will find you the answer. So as Karen mentioned, if you have any questions, raise your hand, speak up. I like to answer questions as we're going so that you don't have to wait till the end to get your questions answered. If you're interested, feel free to follow me on social media. We post grant opportunities, statistics, information about business and nonprofit. There's some things changing in the state of Arizona and nationally with the new year coming up. So we'll be posting about some legal changes in the country and in the state for your business and nonprofit. And then, of course, you can always, of course, connect with us if you have any questions through social media or my email. So today, we're going to talk about identifying your nonprofit mission and vision. But before we do that, I want to make sure everyone understands if they are a nonprofit or if they should be a foundation, right? Some of you here probably have businesses or you've thought about starting a business. And then there's the whole other side of a nonprofit. But in the nonprofit world, you also have things called foundations. So let's talk about the difference here. A nonprofit has specific social goals and it uses the money it receives for those specific goals and to fund the operations, right? So you think of things like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is actually a nonprofit. They get money to provide wishes. They wish those, they provide those wishes for the kids, right? So they're getting money to do the actual operation of what they do. They are funded or they receive money through donations from individuals. They'll get sponsorships from companies. You can get grants from companies, from the government, from other agencies, other nonprofits, from foundations. And the whole purpose here is to serve the community that your mission is tied to, right? So if you think of a children's nonprofit, they are serving the children for their specific need, right? Now, on the other side of it, for any of you, if you've not already started your nonprofit, you may consider becoming a foundation. So a foundation generally is funded through the founders, right? So you think of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they're providing most of the funding to their own foundation, right? Now, this is not always the case. Under a foundation, you have what's called a public foundation. So the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, right, is going to be providing a lot of services to a lot of individuals. But you can also start what's called a private foundation, which is when a small group of people or an individual, a smaller company, wants to start a foundation. It's going to be funded through that person, but it can, when you're a private foundation, also receive grants and sponsorships and donations. So for some of you, for example, with me, I have my company, right? It is a business, but we may consider starting the Lucero Foundation. I'll provide the initial money for it, but because I own the foundation as the only person, I can also request grants and sponsorships and donations because I'm not the only funder for the foundation. So that would be a private foundation. So you have nonprofits, which are very much open to the public. And then you have foundations that are a little more closed off, usually funded from an individual to provide those different services to the community. Any questions so far? Everyone's feeling good. Good. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue then. So why do we start nonprofits, right? What is your motivation for starting a nonprofit organization? Would anybody like to share what your nonprofit does or what you're thinking of doing with your nonprofit?
Manny, I have a question.
Yeah,
Manny,
go ahead.
the conversation started.
Yeah.
Why do we see companies start a nonprofit arm?
That's a
So,
great question.
I'll use this as an example. There's a skateboard shop that's been in Phoenix on like Central and Camelback for years, since like the 90s. And I
Mhm.
just saw that they started a nonprofit arm of the skateboard,
Yeah.
shop. So like, why would they do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a few reasons. Number one, to give back, right? So they want to provide something to the community. They want to give back to the community, which is the really nice reason. But the financial reason is you can funnel money to the nonprofit to provide services, but on the business side of it, all of that money that you put to the nonprofit now, you're actually going to reduce the taxes you owe the government. So basically, for example, with my company, right, I could either pay taxes come February, March, or I can put my profits into my foundation, use that money for good instead of paying the government in taxes. I'm going to give the money away either way. I might as well do it to my foundation instead of giving it to the government. The third reason is because it makes me look good, right? So a lot of businesses will start foundations because we love posting on social media. People will buy from you more if you do good for the community. So it's good for your taxes, it's good for your community outreach, and you get to do something good for the community.
Okay,
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, that really helps. Thanks so much, Manny.
Yeah, good question, Karen. I think Mr. and Miss Baker were going to say something too. Oh, you're on mute
No,
still.
his name is Rasha Holt. I'm Carmela.
Oh, perfect. Good to know. Do you guys want to share a little bit about your nonprofit? What do you guys do?
Yes, well, I am I would like to start a nonprofit. I have a few ideas. I have a targeted group of individuals that I want to target specifically for my nonprofit, which will be 18 to 25-year-olds, individuals pertaining to drugs, mental health, things of that nature, to help them get their lives in order, and to keep them from going to prison. Those that have come out of prison that fell back into drugs, give them a chance to get their lives in order.
I love that. That's amazing. See, so that's where, as soon as you start saying those things, right, we're going to talk in a little bit here on a coming up slide. How do you actually operate something like that, right? There's the big thing about nonprofits. Nonprofits are actually harder to manage than businesses because there's a lot more regulation, right? There's a lot more steps to fundraising and managing as the executive director. So we'll talk about those things. So let's go ahead and continue unless anyone else would like to share any comments before we continue. Okay, perfect. So we know why you want to start, right? For most of us, it's to do something good, to give back to the community. Something I want you all to think about is, who is your support system? Now, most people, when I ask this, will say their family, their friends, right, their kids, which I hope so. I hope that that's part of who's supporting you. But when you're going to run a nonprofit, you need to start thinking of your support system as your board of directors, right? Who is going to be on your team? Who's your marketing team? Who's going to help you with fundraising? Who are your donors? What companies are going to partner with you? That's your support system as a nonprofit, right? It's who's going to help you provide the impact to your community. And then lastly here, what resources will you need? Of course, money, right? Nonprofits don't function without money, just like a business does. You have to pay your bills as well. But what other resources? You're going to need things, right? We'll talk about this in the presentation today. Things like getting registered, getting your 501c3 license, writing your bylaws. So all of these things are going to be things that are part of your first journey in starting a nonprofit or foundation. We'll talk about those during the statements today. So let's kick it off with your mission and vision statement. What are these, right? You're going to hear this very often. And as you start fundraising, this is going to be what you talk about all the time, right? You're going to have this memorized. You're going to tell everyone about it, because when people relate to these statements, that's how they choose to give you money. So the mission statement is a short statement. It should only be 7 to 13 words of why your organization exists and what you do. Now, we say 7 to 13 words for a few reasons. Number one, when you're talking about this to people, you want them to remember your mission statement. Psychologically, when you have more than 13 words, people don't remember what you do, right? So you want your mission statement to be 7, 8, 9 words, no more than 13, so that you can say it easily, but so that people can also remember it easily. And then, of course, the shorter the mission statement, the more effective your marketing will be, right? It fits easier on everything. It looks better. So again, it's going to be a statement of why you exist and what you do. Now, that's different from your vision statement. Your vision statement is not what you do, it's what you hope to achieve, right? So this is the inspirational statement. It's what, right, if our mission actually works, if we can achieve the mission, we'll reach the vision. So for example, my mission statement could be, right, providing resources to small businesses so that they can get access to capital. That's what I want to do every day. My vision, though, is a world where every small business can get funding without any hurdles, right? That's not a mission. I'm not going to achieve that tomorrow. But if my mission takes practice and it works, I should reach the vision at some point. So your vision is down the road. Your mission is day to day. Any questions on mission versus vision?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue then. So let's look at a couple examples. So there's a large nonprofit here in Arizona called Chicanos por la Causa. They provide over 30 different programs and services. So how do you encapsulate that? Their mission is we drive economic and political empowerment. That could mean a million things, right? But you know now that it's based on economic and political empowerment, right? Now, when you go to their website, if you look into them, all of their programs are about helping people economically and engaging the community politically. That's what they do, right? So if they're driving people to be empowered, what is their vision? What should happen at the end of the day? Empowered lives. That's the vision, right? People are so empowered that they don't even need the mission anymore because they've reached the mission. Let's look at another example. Ronald McDonald House, they provide, basically it's a hotel for sick children while they're getting treatment. So you'll see their mission statement, to create, fund, and support programs that directly improve the health and well-being of children and their families. So what do they do here? We know who they're serving, right? Children and their families, and it has to do with healthcare. So if they can do that, if they can help all these kids and families, what's the vision? A world where all children have access to medical care, right? So is the vision going to happen tomorrow? I wish it would. It's not going to. So if we do the mission every day, we should achieve the vision at some point, right? Let's look at another one, Make-A-Wish. So their mission, together we create life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses. So again, what do? Life-changing wishes for who? Children with critical illnesses, right? You only needed 10 words here to tell you exactly what Make-A-Wish does. What's the vision? To be able to make every child's wish come true, right? Now, you notice they actually changed their vision statement a while ago. It used to be to make every child's wish come true, and now they added this very important word, every eligible child's wish, because to be eligible, you have to have some sort of illness, right? This isn't open to any kid. They're getting funding for sick children. So if I'm a donor, if I'm going to give you money to make a wish, I'm trying to help kids who are eligible for services, right? So you'll see every word matters quite a bit in your vision and mission statement. Let's look at one more. Now, you'll notice this one is long, right? So we don't like that. But you'll see the Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating research, driving risk reduction, and maximizing quality care and support, right? So what are they doing? Ending Alzheimer's. How are they doing it? Research, detection, and care, right? So if all of that happens, what's the vision statement? A world without Alzheimer's and other dementia, right? Very, very clear of what they're doing. So as you all are starting or growing your nonprofits or foundations, you want to be very clear what's the mission and what's the vision. Any questions on that?
Manny, I have a question.
Yeah.
For if we look at the Alzheimer's Association, how do you feel about a mission and a vision that is extremely overarching? Meaning, to end Alzheimer's is a very huge goal.
Yeah.
Not saying that it can't be done, but it's a really big goal. It would be like if I were to say I wanted to start a foundation to end
Homelessness.
addiction.
Yeah.
Like that's a huge goal.
Yep.
So to me, and my father passed away of Alzheimer's, I've always been turned off by the Alzheimer's Association because of that. But I want to hear your take on it. I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So thank you for asking that. A vision statement is supposed to be overarching, right? Okay. Something that you don't talk about, you will never repeat these words to anybody, is your vision, as much as we want it to come true, it's not really realistic, right? Your nonprofit is not going to end Alzheimer's. Your mission is working towards the hopeful vision that you have. So this is where, right, when you're talking to your marketing, when you're doing fundraising, when you're talking to board members, you're using your mission statement. It's the work that you do day to day. What you work internally with your organization is where you use your vision statement, right? When you're using grants, you want to say, my vision, what we want to do is end Alzheimer's. Here's the part that we play in it through our mission, right?
Yeah.
So give us money so that we can be part of the solution to reach the vision through our small mission in this specific area.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I'm glad you asked that. So yeah, so the mission is definitely the public facing. Your vision is definitely more internal, right? You'll use it with your board members, with big donors, but that's really what you use kind of as the roadmap. And then the mission is the day-to-day work you're actually doing.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Do you have a suggestion as far as which one would be better to write first? Is it better to like get your vision put in your head and then create a mission statement out of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, usually you start with your vision, right? So like Karen said, it could be, I want to end homelessness or I want to end addiction. How do I do that? Well, maybe I'm providing services to people in South Phoenix, right? That's the work I can do here locally. So usually you'll start with a vision, right? You kind of identify your niche there, and then you really work it down to a mission statement. That's a great question. Any other questions on this? Okay, let's go ahead and keep going. So next up.
Wait one moment, please.
Oh yeah, go ahead, yeah.
He has a question that he wants to address.
Yes, I want to know if see, I have all these visions in my head. I have all these thoughts in my head, and it's hard for me to manifest these thoughts
Yeah.
that I want to do and I want to accomplish.
Hmm.
I know what I want to do. I know how to put the work in, but my thing is actually getting started.
Yep.
The drawing up the plan,
Yep.
creating a absolute business front or
Yep.
absolute mission front.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. So
step.
that's actually our next slide. So I'm about to show
Okay.
you how to do that.
Okay.
You read my mind. You read my mind. Something else for everyone here. You all, I have my contact information again at the end of the presentation. Send me an email, send me an Instagram message. I have a template for a nonprofit business plan. So it's a few pages. You'll start jotting down your ideas.
Okay.
Everything I'm about to cover will be in there. So let's go ahead and continue because I think it'll help you kind of visualize
Okay.
the areas that you'll want to talk about. So here's really kind of the big important slide, right? What do you provide? When you are, think about it as a business, right? I sell X, Y, and Z, right? I provide X, Y, and Z service. As a nonprofit, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to do that through your programs, services, and goods. So you want to think about as a nonprofit, what are you providing? What is it essentially that you're quote unquote selling, right? You're going to be in 1, 2, or all 3 of these. So the first is going to be a program. Maybe you provide a program such as educational support, business support, housing, right? If you think of something like Ronald McDonald House, they do temporary housing for children. Medical support, right? A lot of hospitals have foundations where they provide free medical support. Those are programs that they're actually providing to the participants, right? To their community. Another type of service is going to be actual services. So maybe you're not just providing programming like education, you're actually providing the direct housing, right? So there's homeless shelters. That is a service. That's not a program, right? They're actually serving the community through the shelter. You have the nonprofits that do tax prep for free. That's a service, not a program. There's a few nonprofits that provide free legal services. Again, that's a service they're providing at no cost. So that's not a program, right? A program for legal, for example, would be if I'm an attorney and I come and do one free legal class to a group of small businesses once a month, right? That's a legal program I manage, but really the service is now providing a day-to-day, right? That's a service. And then lastly, you have goods. So think of all of those community pantries or food kitchens, right? They're providing food boxes. There's nonprofits that give away furniture, backpacks for school. Those are goods that are being provided, right? So for each of you, you're going to think about, what am I providing as a nonprofit? Is it a program, a service, a good, a combination? Am I providing 2 or 3 of them? You want to be able to identify what you're actually offering, right? So for someone like you who's going to be working with 18 to 25, right, you're probably going to be creating programs on how they can get rehabilitated, on how they access resources, how they can find a job, right? How to do resume writing. Those are programs that you're going to be managing as a nonprofit, right? Whereas someone else, if I'm opening up a food pantry, I'm providing goods, right? I'm actually giving away product to the community. Questions on this slide? Okay. Now, as we'll talk about later, this is important because guess what? When is this useful? Not only to manage your day-to-day nonprofit, but also when you're looking for money, right? When you're applying for grants or sponsorships, the first thing they ask you is, what do you do, right? So you want to say, I run an educational program that does X, Y, and Z, or I provide food boxes to X amount of people in the community every month, right? You're going to use this language every single day as a nonprofit. Okay, let's continue. Now, the next important thing to keep in mind, who are your participants? You want to be able to very clearly define who you're helping. So the first thing, who will benefit from your services, programs, and or goods, right? It's not everybody. Not everybody will be a participant. For example, you want to talk about the stipulations or requirements of who can get your services. You guys just mentioned, right, 18 to 25. So if I'm 26, do I not qualify? If I'm 55, do I not qualify? Right? Why is it 18 to 25? There's a lot of reasons that that's a good age. There's a lot of children's nonprofits, right, that only go up to 18 years old for a reason, for funding, for legal reasons. So it's not bad to say that it's only 18 to 25. You just want to know why, right? Another big one is location. A lot of government funding, right, grants, sponsorships are based on location. So if you're serving, for example, Mesa, and I came all the way from Phoenix to see you, I technically can't help you, right? I can only help Mesa residents, for example. You want to know those things, right? If your grant tells you that it's only for Mesa residents, you can only help people from Mesa. So you want to be very clear, right? We are a nonprofit that helps 18 to 25 in Mesa, and it's only men, for example, right? Those things you can do because that's what your nonprofit serves, right? So it's not that you're being discriminatory, it's that you have a target demographic of who you're serving. So understand who you're actually going to be helping. Another important thing to keep in mind is how many times can they come to you? The best example here is St. Mary's Food Bank, right? Some of you, I'm hoping all of you know who that is, right? They provide free food to the community. You come in twice a month, they'll give you a whole food box for free. But the big question that comes up for St. Mary's Food Bank is, if you're giving me free food every other week, and I can come to you forever, am I ever gonna find a job? Am I ever gonna try to get my own food? No, because I'll just keep coming to you for free food, right? So you'll see nonprofits that now are saying, you can come get this free food box, but you can only get it 6 times, right? During those 6 weeks, during those 3 months, we're gonna help you write a resume, we're gonna help you find a job, we're gonna help you find an apartment. In the meantime, you have free food, but after those 6 visits, you should be able to be sufficient so that you can afford your own food, right? Otherwise, you're never gonna do any of that stuff. So we're not just giving you food, we're gonna help you be self-sufficient. That is an important thing to keep in mind when you're applying for grants and sponsorships, right? If you're just gonna be giving things away for free forever, you're never gonna solve your vision statement, right? You're just doing your mission over and over and over again. And people that give you money don't like that. You're trying to solve the issue, not just put a Band-Aid on it. Next up is, what are your goals and metrics for their success? So again, like I just said, I'm going to give you a free food box 6 times, but during those 6 weeks or however long, right, you should have written a resume. You should have applied to 5 jobs. You should have, applied for 2 apartments. Those things are metrics that you can put on your participants to make sure that they're actually getting something out of your services, right? And then lastly, and this is a very, very important one, keep track of who you're helping, right? You want to keep track of as much information as you can, how old they are, where they come from, their ethnicity, how much money they make, right? You want to make sure you ask these things in the right way. So talk to a consultant, they can help you write an actual intake form that is legally sound and safe. You can't require this information, but you want to ask as much as you can, because grants and sponsors, again, are going to ask you, right, what percent of your participants are low income? What percent are African American? What percent are men? What percent are over 45? The more information you have, the more money you will get. If you don't keep track of this information, it's going to be very hard to fill out grant and sponsorship applications. So keep track of as much info as you can. Okay, I talked a lot. Any questions on this? Okay.
I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
if I'm targeting 18 to 25-year-olds, and say uh they're hanging in Mesa, but they're not necessarily from Mesa. How do I provide a service for individuals without a Mesa address?
So that's a great question. That depends on your funding. So
Okay.
I have a whole other class I do on funding breakdowns. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
give you the 20-second version right now. So the way it'll work, right, is let's just say that my nonprofit makes $1 million a year. I have one government grant from the city of Mesa for $250,000. If you are going to come to get services and you're in Mesa, I'm going to use the money from that grant to help you. If you are coming from Phoenix, right, I'm going to say, okay, well, I have some individual donors, I have some sponsors, I raise money at an event. That money that is not restricted, it's called, right, that's open money. I use that money to help people that are outside of Mesa. So we're not talking about really managing your budgets and your financials. There's a separate class I will do on that, but that's how you would help them, right? So for example, there are some grants, and you'll see some businesses, or some nonprofits that can only help people in Mesa because all of their money is tied to Mesa, right? So they legally cannot help anyone outside of Mesa. There's others that are, based out of Phoenix, but they have a grant from California, so they can help people from California, right? It really depends where your money is coming from. And so one thing you'll hear, the more that you're in the nonprofit world, you want to find as much unrestricted money as you can, because that means you can use the money for whatever you want, right? So that's your long but short answer to that question.
Okay. So it's actually restricted and unrestricted.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Any other questions? Okay. So how do we actually register the nonprofit? You're going to register through the Arizona Corporation Commission. You are going to do a full registration. When you first register your nonprofit, you are considered an actual nonprofit corporation. So when you're going to file, if you haven't filed yet, please contact me, because it's a very deceiving process to apply for a nonprofit in Arizona. So if you've not filed, let me know. I will walk you through it. You will apply first as a nonprofit corporation. Once you've done that, all that means is that you are registered with the state. To actually be a nonprofit, you have to take the next step, which is to file your 501c3 designation with the IRS, which now entitles you to the nonprofit status to get donations, sponsorships, and grants. If you don't have your 501c3, you are technically a corporation and you cannot receive grants, sponsorships, or donations. So there's two steps: getting your corporation registered and then doing your 501c3. Once you've done both of those, you're going to solidify and create your brand. That means getting a logo, doing your website, your social media, and then you're going to protect yourself by trademarking your brand. And you do that through the Secretary of State. So again, you will first register with the Corporation Commission as a nonprofit corporation. You will then do your 501c3 and then protect your brand after you create your logo and website with your trademark. Questions on this?
So the actual 3 steps are, can you tell me what the actual 3 steps are again?
Yeah.
In order?
Yep. Yeah. So step 1 is to register the nonprofit with the Arizona Corporation Commission. So you're going to register as a nonprofit corporation. Once that's approved, you are then going to file your 501c3 with the IRS. And then from there, you're going to create your brand. So your website, social media, logo, you'll trademark that to protect it. Now, if anyone here, I'll show you at the end of class here, but on my website, I have a blog on the steps to starting a nonprofit. There's literally hundreds of steps, right? I mean, there are so many things you're going to have to do. I'm not wanting to scare any of you, but there's just a lot of tasks on the to-do list, right? So I have more written out on the blog. I'll share the link with you guys. But the first three things are the ones I mentioned. Outside of that, right, you're working on the board of directors, you're doing your bylaws, you're creating your programming, writing your services. So there's a lot that goes into it, but those are the first three steps to get started.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course, my pleasure. Yeah. Okay. Oh, actually, that's the end of it. So you have my contact information here. Let me actually see if I can.
See if you can put it in the chat, maybe, Manny.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can share it really quick so I can walk you through it, and then I will put it in the chat so everyone has access to it.
Manny, you're getting applauses. You did
Oh,
a
I couldn't even see. Thank you. I'm so thankful.
And then you can always contact us if you want any further information, or if you didn't get Manny's information, we can always give it to you. You can always, come into the GO program. We have our next cohort starting in March of 2024. And that is another way that we can help you through this process as well. We can match you with a mentor, all of those things. And that is another area of opportunity for you.
Yep. Love that. So yeah, so
cool.
everyone here, I'll share the link on the chat here in a second, but you'll see the Starting a Nonprofit blog down as you start reading it, right? It's the first steps to starting. So who are your participants? We talked about that today. What are you offering? Getting your name, solidifying the name and getting registered with the Corporation Commission, your brand, and then you'll see down here, right, all of the additional materials. So preparing for grants, getting your board of directors ready, writing your organization's bylaws. This is a really, really important and long step you will have to do that a lot of new small nonprofits ignore. And then you go to file taxes, you don't have them ready, and you get penalized. So do not forget your bylaws. Very, very important. Things like your database, right? So when we talk about getting the different information, the demographics of your participants, you're going to keep track of that in a database, right? So what is that going to look like? Opening your bank account. So I'll share this link with you all. Again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And then, of course, Karen is amazing and will be a wealth of knowledge and resources as well. So don't let this be the last time I hear from you, please. I would love to help you if you have any other questions.
Yeah. Yes. Quick question. Will there be any classes that I will have to take? I have a lot of information, a lot of life information pertaining to what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to take any personal classes to legitimize what I know and how I feel about life in general to run the
nonprofit? So not necessarily. That depends though, because for example, if you're going to be hosting like group therapy sessions, there are licenses you'll want to do for that, right? So most people can provide feedback or advice, but if you're going to call it a therapy session, there are some licenses you'll want to have to avoid any legal issues.
Okay.
So it really depends on what you're offering. The short answer is, do you have to have a license to start a nonprofit? No, but it depends on what you're doing. So maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And then I'll just add on top of that, I think it gets a little bit more muddy if you're dealing with kids versus, I think you said 18 to 20. Did you say 18 to 25?
Yes, 18 to 25. Well, I believe that is the age group where most of the important decisions are made in a person's life.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, when I'm driving, I see all these youngsters and I see early in the morning going to work. They evidently ain't got nowhere to stay.
I know.
They evidently they're on drugs. and a lot of these individuals could actually become productive individuals if they actually had some help, if they had
Yeah.
somewhere to go, if they had somewhere somebody to give a damn about them, you know.
Yeah.
So they don't get flushed down the commode, you know, like a lot of youngsters in their age group.
Yeah.
And see, so one thing for you, right, is, for example, I teach a lot of classes like this. So thankfully it's on Zoom, right, or I guess on Google Meets, but Karen doesn't have to worry about anything because if I give you bad advice, you would come after me, not her. And thankfully I have insurance, right? And thankfully I'm not wrong a lot. So so for you guys, right, I work with a lot of nonprofits where they bring in guest speakers who have their own licenses and in their own insurance. They volunteer their time, so you're safe, right? If anything does happen, you have insurance, but so does the guest speaker. And now that does also allow you to provide more services under your name, but under their protection, right? So there are ways around it. Again, right, it depends. I work with nonprofits that provide financial services, loans, things of that nature. There's a ton of licenses you have to do anything with financials. So they have a lot of their time is just looking at licenses, right?
Yeah.
So again, it depends on what you're doing, but there are ways that you can get around it when you're first starting.
Okay.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Okay. What about, like, I think what we would love to see is for Rasha be able to do this full time and dedicate his, life and energy and all the time that he has into this. What would your recommendation be as far as when is the right time to pull a salary from your nonprofit, or what's kind of like acceptable in that kind of vein?
That's a great question. I go into detail on this on the financial class, but as a preview now, right? This answer is different for everybody because I don't know if you want to make $1,000 or $100,000, right? Everyone has a different answer to that. There are nonprofit CEOs that are making $30,000 as a salary 10 years into their nonprofit, and I have some that are making $150,000, right? Because they have a ton of grants they're managing. So to answer the question as concisely as I can, number one, it depends on what you want to make, but again, number two, it depends on your funding. Right. So if you're getting unrestricted dollars, what you want to do as a nonprofit now, there's something what you really want to focus on is how much of every dollar that you receive is going to the community. So if I donated $100, right, the way that the nonprofit sector works is 80 to 85% of every dollar should go to the participants, which means that you have about 15 to 20% of every dollar to actually manage the nonprofit, right? That means if you have an office, paying the office, paying the light, paying your salaries. So this is part of it, right? If you're getting unrestricted money, then you can pay yourself a salary as long as you're also providing services. The other thing to this is it depends who's providing the services. So if I'm the therapist and the CEO and I'm paying a salary, I'm actually paying myself to provide the service. So that salary is actually helping the community, right? That's not part of the 20%. That's part of the 80% because I'm actually providing the direct service. If I'm just the CEO and I hire a therapist and I'm making 50,000 and paying him 20,000, I'm not working under that same percentage, right? Because I'm not actually providing the service. So there's a lot of financial aspects to this. The answer really is when you feel comfortable and you can still provide 80% or more of your money to the actual service you're providing.
Okay. What constitutes what I'm saying is what constitutes actually being a therapist in a certain situation? See, because I believe I have certain knowledge that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do I take that knowledge that I have and put it in a format where it's accessible to everybody that I'm trying to reach?
Yes, yeah, good question. First thing, don't call yourself a therapist, which you haven't, so that's good. Something a lot of people, I actually dealt with this with a client last year. She called herself, and I can't say it because obviously it'll break the secret, but it was the something therapist, right? And she called herself that because she was helping people one-on-one, but she had no education or background in therapy. So she actually got in some legal issues for that. So the first thing, just don't say you're doing any kind of therapy, right? You would say
Right.
that you're a coach, you're an advisor, a motivational speaker. So
Mentor.
that's a mentor,
mentor.
exactly. Yeah. So
But-
those titles are the first way to protect yourself. The second step is, instead of providing it through, for example, just communication, where now there's no way to prove anything. This is why you see so many organizations have booklets and handouts and worksheets, because now I'm giving you the information, but now there's written documentation of what we're talking about, right? So it
Okay.
protects me as the mentor that
Okay.
says, I talked about information, but here are the topics we covered. So not only is it useful on a working standard, but it also helps protect you legally. So
Okay.
just don't call yourself a therapist. Use those handouts and worksheets, because that'll allow you now to provide the information. You can do like a PowerPoint where you're providing the advice, the guidance, and now you're really, you've kind of covered your bases at that point.
Okay.
If can I just add something really quick? Your life experience
Right.
is far, and I have a lot of life experience too. And that's how I helped start the Go program.
Uh-huh.
Far outweighs, in my opinion, any therapist. And I've done a lot of therapy.
Well, exactly.
I've done a lot of therapy too.
Yes, and that's what I was saying.
Yeah, you can give a perspective to somebody who might battle addiction, or who is battling homelessness, or has lost hope, that a therapist doesn't have that perspective.
Right.
So you being that mentor to somebody who's 18 to 25,
Yeah.
who's battling addiction and homelessness and has that trauma and all those things, you're absolutely valuable to them.
Yeah.
And your voice matters in their lives, and you
Yeah.
can make a difference in their lives.
Yes.
So
and that,
absolutely.
yeah, well, that's what I believe. I believe that I can
Yeah.
reach a group of people in a way that an individual that's actually college educated, that has a diploma, that they won't be able to reach them like I can reach them.
Absolutely.
Because
You're right.
because of my life and what I've been through, and the amount of time I've spent in the institutions as opposed to out here in society. I have something to give to the people, but how do I put it in a format to be able to give it to them? That's
So and Manny, I hope you don't mind. I would
No,
suggest you do, because I heard you say that you have a lot of ideas. You think about what you want to offer the individuals that you
Yeah.
want to target. Meaning, do you want to offer career development? Because that's where you think you can get them off the street.
right.
Right?
Okay.
Like what is going to change for them? And in that, you can also mentor them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of just the cherry on the top, right? Like you're also going to mentor them in that.
Right.
Saying, I've done this, you can have group sessions with them, you can do all that. But your offer, like Manny talked about, has to be different from what else is out there.
Right. Right.
So it could be career development. It could be housing. It could be, and how you gain those is by different partnerships.
Right. Right. Well, I was thinking about career development. I was thinking about housing. See, because they have to have somewhere to stay to lay their head as they go through the process of
Right.
these
So
different actions.
So you got to pick. So we always say pick and stick. You got to pick one, and you have to, because you have that lived experience, you have the perspective and the vision to say, well, if I didn't have a bed to lay in, I couldn't go get a job.
Mhm.
But some people might say, well, if I didn't have a job, I wouldn't have the hope to, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
there's a chicken and the egg there, but it's
Yeah.
it's up to you. You get to make that choice.
Right. Right.
You can choose that.
Right.
And then on top of it, then is where you can have those mentoring sessions and those talks with them and you know and help them in those areas as well. That's
Okay.
what I would suggest.
Okay. That's helpful. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about, because I want to one day be in a position to be, say I'm going to the mall, or say I'm going to work, or say I'm got my grandkids, I'm going to the park, and I see some individuals that I know need the kind of help that I can give them.
Right.
I want to be able to take that individual, be able to talk to them, and with their agreement, I want to be able to put them in a place to where they can be housed, they can be fed, they can be put through programs, they can get their mental health situation intact, and put themselves in a position to actually have a life. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because so many times I see a lot of people come through the institution. When I was in the institution, and they say, well, I would have did this if I had the opportunity to do this. Well, I wouldn't have did this, or I wouldn't have been in a position to come here if I didn't have to provide food for myself or shelter.
Yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. And this is, if we have a consulting session, this is what I tell everybody. I want you to do a million things, but it's very difficult, right? For example, a lot of nonprofits come to me and say, I want to provide housing. Housing is the hardest thing to do because of money, right? To get a housing complex is millions of dollars, the licenses, the staffing, the time that it would take you. So how can you provide more impact in less time? Don't provide housing. Partner with a housing agency. You're going to come in as a contractor, as a partner. You're going to give the motivational conversations, the mentoring. You're going to bring in activities. You're going to work with them. They get to deal with the money. They get to deal with all of the licenses and the issues. You're coming in as a partner and providing the impact, right? And now, maybe 3 years, maybe 10 years from now, you've built up the nonprofit, you have your own housing facility, but start now with one or two things, right? You as an individual have a story. Let that be the program or the service that you're offering. Share the information, create those workbooks, create an activity, right? Do something like a PowerPoint presentation that walks people through resources or steps to get into housing, to get a job. You come in and provide the information. The nonprofits will pay you as a vendor, as a partner. You can get actual sponsorships from companies. I have had several companies pay me to come into nonprofits and give conversations, right? So I'm telling you from experience, people will pay you to give your information. And now you don't have to worry about the licenses and getting a loan for a huge facility. Let someone else deal with that, right? And maybe 5 years from now, you can do that if you want to. But if you started with that, I promise you, you would not like it very much. It's a lot of unnecessary effort because someone else has already done that.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Manny.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
That's
Yeah.
a great
So
idea.
you
Oh, okay. We're just at time. I just wanted to be
Let's take this last question.
okay. Go ahead.
okay? You said you have a workbook that I can get a hold of on your site.
I shared the blog in the chat. But for you, for example, I'd love to chat with you more because I did this with a different client who does work in the Hispanic community.
Yeah.
I created with her a 10 topic workbook, And so I worked with her. We created 10 PowerPoint presentations. She offers those 10 topics, and companies, for example, she got hired by the Phoenix Police Department for, I probably shouldn't tell you, but she got $20,000 as a nonprofit to come and provide her classes for 3 months, right?
Oh my gosh.
And it was just a PowerPoint that I did with her in a couple of weeks. So that's something that what I would tell you if I was going to give you homework, something you should go work on tonight over the weekend. Write down 10 topics of conversations you can have, right? So for example, I can do a class on different housing facilities for people who need housing in Arizona. I can do a class on how to stay out of prison. I can do a class on understanding credit scores, right? Or if you can't do that, I can find a guest speaker to do that with me. So come up with at least 8 to 10 topics. From there, you can actually start identifying which ones of these will people want to hire me for, right? Which ones do I start writing content on, so that as you start building out your nonprofit, that's what you're selling, right? You're selling those workshops to other organizations.
Okay.
Manny, you are a genius. Do we
Thank
not love Manny? Isn't he the
Yes.
best?
Yes.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
Manny, you are a wealth, a giant well of knowledge,
you.
Manny.
Yes.
try.
Yes. Very, very helpful.
Oh, Ebony
glad
has
you
a
did.
hand raised.
And
Ebony, I was hoping that
thank
you were
you,
still
Joe.
up.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
this
You know
done
what?
lit a new fire up under me.
That's good.
Good, I'm glad.
I didn't
Ebony-
mean that, but I didn't mean to
Ebony-
raise my hand. I just
Oh.
wanted to say, I mean, this is very helpful. Even though I don't think I'm going to do a nonprofit, but this is very good information, though.
Good, thank
And
you,
you're-
Evan. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the information, though. Really, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Ebony, I
We'll
can
be,
see you as a speaker somewhere. I can see you doing that.
We'll
girl.
see you one day, maybe.
Yes.
We'll definitely, I know that you're trying to get back to the children, but we'll definitely be reaching out to you.
Yes, please
I'm
do.
definitely his support system. Joe is definitely his support system. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people that believes in Russia, and
right.
just like Joe, we want to be a part. We are a part. We are a part of his story, his mission, his goal, and what God has definitely blessed him to share. It's a lot of things that he has that education cannot teach. Only experience, life experience is the only way that he could have learned the different things they have learned. So that targeted group is both personal to us,
Mhm.
and it's just something that in our community is a overdue dire need
Dire
that
need.
absolutely needs to be addressed.
Mhm.
It's the where do we start? How do we get started? How do we get the funding? How do we get the support?
Mhm.
The need is there, but the support, the scale,
Yeah,
We balance everything out.
how do we get that balance?
So,
You know, with having to work and
Absolutely.
having to actually live and provide for yourself
Yeah.
in the process.
Yep.
You know, of
Yeah.
accomplishing these goals.
So we'll definitely be reaching out.
Yeah, please
and
do,
we're
yeah.
gonna need some mentorship. We're gonna literally need our hands held, and then, once we get going, we're not gonna cap ourselves. It's just,
You shouldn't.
how do we get that ball rolling? Can just lead us to the water, and we'll figure out how to swim from there.
absolutely.
You came to the right place.
Thank
you took
you.
the first right step, is what I'll say.
Thank
So
you.
Absolutely.
I gave you our website, the Growing
Right.
Up
I
Opportunities
took it
website.
down. Right.
Yep. So that's how you get involved in the mentorship piece of the program.
Okay.
This fireside chat is part of the program. Ebony, who's in the fireside chat with us, is still in the program. She was in our
Yeah.
report. Yeah.
So is this just once a month or once a week or?
So the way that the program works is that it's cohort based. Cohort means that you're in a group. The group is 6 months long. You get matched with the mentor. That mentor kind of helps you sort out your goals. What do you want to do? What's the first step? How do you do this? Kind of what Manny did with you right now.
Yes,
And
yes.
they kind of help you through that 6 month journey.
hmm
Extra video conferences are a piece of that program as well. So we have these every Wednesday.
Okay.
from 3:30 to 4:30. It's just part of our program. The Growing Opportunities program is a re-entry training and mentorship program to help folks like yourself either start a nonprofit or a small business.
Okay.
So we developed the program myself, and Emma and Hannah and Dom started this program, just Emma and I and Dom started this program a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Okay.
From the ground up.
Okay.
Pretty much what you want to do.
Yes. Yeah. From the ground up.
I just did all this. I just went through what you're doing.
Okay.
But what
okay.
you're trying to do is help us through your growing pains.
Yeah,
And your
I just had your
experience.
growing pains.
Mhm,
We received a grant from the governor's office,
mhm.
and they said, here we need help with reentry support to help people not go back to prison.
Right.
You guys go figure it out. That's how it happened.
Okay.
And so we figured it out. And we've,
And thank you for sharing that knowledge, because again, that is the only way we're going to address some things that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Because all that talking about it, our experiences has been very, very, very little that's been done about it.
Yep, we agree. So we saw a need, and the position that Emma took was to help with career development, helping folks start a small business or nonprofit in the state of Arizona.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Okay, that's nice. Yes.
Yep.
So we are here to help and support you.
Thank
So
you. Thank you very much.
You have our email. I check mine a little bit more often than he does, but
So I would suggest you sign up for the program.
Okay.
On the website, you fill out like a form.
Mhm.
It will then put you into our program.
Okay.
Okay.
And then you'll start getting emails as it gets closer to March. We'll start onboarding you, see like kind of what you want to do, all of those things. I think we have and I mean, guys, we started small. Our first group of people was like 5.
Mhm.
And we had to start going into the prisons and being like, hey, we have this program, come in. And, we're partners with New Freedom. And,
Okay.
it was small and scrappy.
Okay. I heard about them.
I'll tell you. And now
You got to start somewhere. I mean,
I think our list for the next cohort is like 90 people.
Mm.
okay.
So now the word has gotten out there. It's gotten bigger, thank goodness. But,
Okay.
it was small and scrappy to start with. And now we've gotten bigger and we're able to impact and help more people, which is what we
Yes.
want to do.
Okay. Yeah.
So fill out the application online. And then
Mhm.
once you're in our program, like Ebony, you're in for life. You can
Okay.
always come back to
That's amazing.
Okay. Thank you.
It's been a blessing to me.
Oh, Ebony, you've been a blessing to us. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you end up
Don't
going?
get gushy and mushy now. It's too late in the evening for that.
She is fantastic. She is.
Oh,
If you couldn't look how
teasing.
smiley she is.
I'm just teasing.
Miss
How
Lucero.
Did you, Ebony? This is a side. Did you end up going back to school through the Maricopa County Schools?
Yeah, thanks to you. I start January the 8th.
That's
You
amazing.
did this. You helped me do this. So
Ebony, I'm
Yeah.
gonna
That's
start
amazing.
crying. Oh, I'm so
and I'm using my
happy
new
for you.
device that you guys helped me get. So I'm using it right
Oh,
now.
I
Ebony.
So
love
it's great.
that.
This program is great. It's a blessing. Trust me.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Ebony, I'm so happy for you. That's great.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
when is the best time
Ebony,
for
you
me?
ever need anything, you contact me. I will always help and support you. I'm
Yes,
gonna
I
make
just
sure
talked
that
to
you
Hannah
succeed.
today. So I talked to
You
Hannah
too.
on the phone today. Yeah, we had our chat. So yeah.
Oh, good. Good. So another piece of the program is we're always doing outreach and trying to get other partners in the state of Arizona. So we had a partnership with Maricopa County Schools to have free tuition. So that's what Ebony got. So she's going back to school for free.
Nice.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's decent.
Yeah.
I have to head out, everyone, unfortunately, but it was so nice meeting you all. So
Thank
great to see
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Please stay in touch. I look forward to chatting with you all again soon. Thank you for
Yeah.
being